Roll, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, sir?
Nothing. Hey, so check this out. As I'm sitting here thinking about everything, right? I had to go and get me some yogurt because I'm gonna be eating my little breakfast while we talking. And the reason and the reason why is because I'm like, dang, I'm saying I've been on this cat 20 years, right? And we have never kicked it together in the
Right,
same location, but yet and still we know each other, bro. And it's
right.
crazy because I'm like, am I gonna call this dude Daniel Anthony? Am I gonna call him Noble? And I know he's gonna be like, should I call him Curse? Should I call him the Cairo? Or should I call him Dewan? But you're gonna be Noble
Right,
for me today, and you could call me Curse because that's what you know me as,
right.
right? And only
Well,
because of the fact of
uh,
how we met was because of the private stock stuff that you was doing with Max and EV Nim, right? And so
right,
I'm thinking back on how you came about and how you was announced to me, where Max was saying, "Yeah, we got this singer named Anthony Noble." And so you know how I was, especially back then. I was always like, "Well, who the hell is he?" You get what I'm saying? And
right.
so,
Right,
and so when I heard your stuff, the style and everything was always cool. Like you had that pretty boy swag about you and all that stuff. And you know how Max and them
right.
side of our crew was. Like they was always the pretty boys, and my side was like the hoodie. So that's probably why you never even met us, because it was no use in you coming over to our side, right? But I
That's right.
will I will say this though, the transition of a name is dope because of the fact I know why I went from Curse to the Cairo, even though the way I set that name up is just based on every name that everyone has always called me. I put everything together to kind of come up with the
Mhm.
Cairo because I feel like I needed something to take me away from that element, like how you knew every time people spoke of Curse, it was always, oh shoot, Curse is here. We got to straighten up, or it's gonna go
Mhm.
down. You get what I'm saying? And I think,
Right,
and let me just speak for myself. I knew Anthony Noble as a singer. I knew him as, like I said, this pretty boy. And just that persona about you, or that image that you had, where now when you go Daniel Anthony, I'm not going to say or assume that it's just because of the fact of you finding Christ or anything like that, but I feel that
right.
you just have to kind of clean up yourself, because I've always had my relationship with the Most High and with Christ, but it was just, I had, when I stepped outside of the house, it was like everybody always knew of me as being this hard tough guy, so I had to stand by that image, because it was like if people didn't see me as Curse, they were going to push that button to see if I was really as hard as everybody said I was, right? So
Right.
I want to start off with you by we'll get into music a little bit later, but for me, I need for you to explain to me, why did you go from Anthony Noble into Daniel Anthony?
Well, I say first and foremost for that in itself, um, I buried Anthony Noble when I made the decision, not even to just not when I just got saved, but after I tried to save some of my music, because after I got baptized and whatnot, I was like really still trying to like think about like, man, these songs are still dope to me. You know, how can I clean them up? You know, so I figured, okay, well, let's take out all the curse words, let's take
Right.
out all the suggestiveness and this and that and the other. And I'm looking at him like, it's still not pleasing to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm a brand new person. You know, I don't know if I can still keep talking about this. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna dead all of that. And I don't even remember when I had the conversation with Max, because he was, I think, one of the first people I called in regards to what my next step is going to be in music.
Uh-huh.
And he knowing how he was gonna take it was already comforting, because he was always the type of dude that was understanding, and he
Right.
told me he was cool with it, understood and everything. We were pretty much scrapping everything that I had done. I had done like about maybe 13 songs, and I was just like, I couldn't keep them. There was one of them that I kept, which was a song I wrote to my wife when we were engaged. And so from there, I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I really want to stick with this name either. So I went ahead and it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go by my name, which my actual last name is Para.
Okay.
And
Right. Right.
I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and keep with that, no big deal. And I would say probably like my first. gospel album was in 2006, 2008 when I actually finished it. And I still use like actually a few of the beats that Max gave me, and really went forward with that same type of sound. And from there I was like, well, all right, well, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out, and this is that. And then after a while, I just got tired of people mispronouncing my last name. I mean, adding so many R's,
Right.
trying too hard all the R's,
Putting the ruffles on it,
calling me, perro, which is the dog in Spanish. I'm
right.
like, no, I can't no more. So it got a little too much for. I was like, okay, well, and I got with this record label. I would say in 2013. And when I told him that I found a few other like Spanish artists, he's like, "Well, that's not cool, to have somebody have your last name and still, all these Spanish things coming up and whatnot, especially if that's not what you're trying to put out there." So I went ahead and just went with my first and my middle name, which is Daniel Anthony. So that's kind of how that came about. And so I've been that since, because it's a lot easier for people to, pronounce Daniel Anthony than Daniel Parra.
Right. Kind of like that Dorwan. Even though my name is Dorwan, they keep saying Dorjan because of the spelling. I get it. Trust me. So I'm there with you. So here's the thing. You talk about, and I want to talk about this, man, because it's big for me. We always talk about being saved and stuff like that, right? And I get it, and I understand why we use that terminology, because we always go through dark times in our life, right? I can tell you, like I said, back in my cursed days, and I'm only going to say back then because I'm still cursed. Okay, so understand, right. If you set me wrong, you already know I'll go in. But the thing is that I think that change, growth, maturity, transition just leads you to say, okay, how should I better handle this to let's say bring more peace than ignorance or violence in the circumstance, no matter what it may be, right? But when we talk about being saved, what I think of saved is being pulled out of the darkness, right? But you have some people that transition out that thinks that, okay, now that I'm saved, everybody else is going to hell, or everybody else is a heathen. So I got to separate myself, or I got to make everybody feel like I'm better than them because God has pulled me out of the fire and I'm holier than thou type of mentality. But I don't get that from you, bro. Like I love you. Like I said, bro, I've never shook your hand. Like, you have never seen me say cuz in person. You've only heard of that, right? I mean, being real.
I don't know if you remember, actually, not to interrupt you. I don't know if you remember, but the first time I actually met you was when you came down to the studio with Max and they were called the Firehouse.
Damn, I was drunk then, Brian. If I don't remember that, I must have been drunk. My bad.
Matter of fact, you came in before. I don't know why I remember this. This is the only instance I remember to a T in regards to actually meeting you. But you came over with a couple people to the studio, and this is before John B came out with Pleasures You Like, and you played like a couple of songs from it because you were like kind of hyped about it. You played. I remember. I think it was Soft and Sweet was one of them, and we were just kind of like banging a few of them just because you thought it was a dope album. And I think that was like, it was a really short conversation that we all had, but it was, either way, the point was that, that was the first time I remember actually meeting you. And, I heard your name before, I heard your name afterwards and everything. And there was no other time that we really spent, around each other too much, but that was the first time.
Damn. Okay. So then, damn. And I was probably on one that day, but that's what's up. And it's funny that you say that, because I always said, like, I want to just be I gotta get with Daniel Anthony because, and I'm going to say Daniel Anthony right there, but I have to get with you because of the fact that you've been in the crew so long. Right. And just like I said, seeing you change, and even though you change, and I'm not gonna use the word change, bro. I can't use it. You grew, okay? Let's put it for what it is. You grew, you matured, and you allowed God to speak before you speak. That's where I'm at now, right? I'm still cursed, but before I act out, I let God act within me before I go into the old behavior that I was known for going into. So that's my save. So I think that God saved me from death. Christ saved me from death. You get what I'm saying? So I wanna ask you a question. One, when did you get baptized?
I got baptized in 2004. Matter of fact, my wife and I got baptized together on her birthday.
Okay.
In 2004, and she'd been trying to get me to go to church for a while, ever since I would say about 3 years, because almost 2 years. I'm sorry, a little over 2 years. And we started living together in 2002, and she started wanting to go to church, and I'm like, all right, peace.
Right.
And
Oh, you one of
after a
them.
while, I was like, say again.
You one of them. Go without me.
Yeah,
I'll see you when you
I
get
sure
back.
was. Yeah, I was like, all right, cool, see you later. Because my attitude about the church was kind of real. I guess you could say limited and one sided in regards to I didn't want to deal with seeing any pastors and how they dealt with offerings and how they dealt with trying to tell people they're sinners and this, that, and the other. Like I felt like it was just too much, so I didn't
Right.
want to go. And after a while, I was like, I got tired of being home by myself because I'm like, okay, she's over. This is before like cell phones were like really just like, the way that they are now. So
Right.
you couldn't really get in touch with people right away. So I'm sitting at home and I'm like, okay, wait, this has been like a few hours now. Where'd she go? It's just church. And so after a while, I went ahead and decided to go with her. And, slowly but surely, my attitude about it started changing, although I did start seeing some of exactly what I thought it was going to be,
Right.
And I finally, we went to this church in Santa Clarita, and that was where I first went ahead and put my hand up. I couldn't help but feel God tugging at me, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is the time now, And after that, we just, we got baptized and been trying to, do things a certain way, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wanted to make that I lived in a right manner, way better than I was before,
Right. And I think that that's what it is. And it's funny that you say about going to church and seeing what's in the church. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people go to church to please the people versus pleasing God. And so that's why you get caught up in the hype of the church versus in the blessing or the favor and mercy of God, right? And so you only go for the word, for the message. And if you don't get the word or the message, then of course you have to leave the church. And like even when I give an offering, it's because I like the place and I want it to stay open. And I know if they're doing good things for the community and for the people, then I don't have a problem giving, right? I don't believe in baptizing babies because I don't think they understand what's going on. I believe that a lot of times when you see people, oh yeah, I was baptized as a kid, and then were probably some of the, not in all cases, but these are some of the people like, damn, he said he was baptized. Oh man, he robbing banks, he got here killing, you know what I mean? But it's when you do it as an adult and you have the full understanding, that's when you are willing to commit. You follow what I'm saying? It's kind of like a marriage because that's what scripture tells us about, coming together as a bride of Christ, right? And so I feel that that's when we're supposed to do that same commitment of how we would commit to our wives. And so, like I said, that's why I wanted to ask you those things, because like I said, I see you have that humble side of you, but then too, you don't segregate yourself from the people because you understand what your testimony is in a lot of ways. And then you have the sense of understanding. And I appreciate
and I think that's what happens with a lot of people when they start getting to a point. And I understand that they start feeling like, well, I've elevated now, so let me not do this, let me not do that. It's like, okay, that's great and everything, but you got to remember what did Christ do? Christ
I was gonna just say that.
Amongst those same type of people,
right?
You know what I mean? So he even though he separated himself as far as being holy, he didn't necessarily separate himself physically because he knew that those were the ones that needed to be saved.
Exactly.
They were already believed in him. People already were at that point where they were maturing and growing. There was no need for him to like constantly stay there with them all the time and only watch them. He had to watch everyone else as well.
Right.
And I think that's the attitude that a lot of Christians need to take on. We've got a lot of Christians in the world, unfortunately, that do this holier than thou thing, and that they condemn other people, they judge other people. And even though I may not like some of the things that I've seen some people do, it's not going to make me call them out. It's not going to make me call them out their name. It's not going to make me be like, okay, well, I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Now, unless they decide that they don't want to have nothing to do with me, you know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, well, no problem. Even though, God does say that how can two walk together unless they agree. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean I don't have to have anything to do with you. It doesn't mean I can't root for you if I believe in what you're doing. I have like my old group members that I used to hang with before I met Max and them, and I may not agree with everything that they do, but we're still good. We're still homies.
Yeah.
There's no way that I would never not call them at some point just to see how they're doing, because that'd be stupid to me. You know, I feel like it would be stupid to me because I feel like, okay, just because they don't share the same thing, they don't go to church all the time, or just because they like, I have a friend that, matter of fact, you probably met Shamori. I'm not sure. The Asian dude that came up to the studio a couple of times
The name
in
sounds
my group.
familiar.
Yeah, Shamori Pass. He's an MC that lives out in Thailand, and then he's got a totally different belief system too. But just because he does doesn't mean I'm gonna you know call him out his name, or you know what I mean. It
Right,
is
no
what it
doubt.
is, and I gotta respect it because God orders us to love one another. He says it in His Word to love thy neighbor. You know what I mean. If we can't do that, then there's no need for us to profess and confess that we're a true believer, because now we're going against what He wants us to do. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
And it's funny you say that, because even when I was like out in the streets, like um back in the day, like even though I was on the Crip side, man, I've always loved like peace amongst the people, right? And I enjoyed being able to hang out like with my blood homies, with my Mexican homies, with my white homies. Like I never felt that I needed to be violent as far as race or color, meaning what hood you were from, right? And
Right,
so
right.
when you, like you say, when we start talking about how some of these Christian people and even believers, because I always even talk about when people say, "Oh, I'm a believer," and I say, "So was the devil." You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so it's just this point that we get in our lives, man, where we feel like we'll say that we want to praise God or we want to believe in God, but the problem is that during that journey, you don't even realize that you're trying to become your own God. You know what I mean? Where you want to have the power to control what other people do. And that's not what it's based upon. You follow what I'm saying? And so this
Right.
is why hardship is important. This is why you have to go through those pitfalls in life, just so you can be reminded that you have to have someone in control of everything, so that you can now have hope for something better than you, greater than you. You follow what I'm
Right.
saying? And so I think that this whole way of how we approach people, how we approach life circumstances, helps us become better people, helps us to understand this testimony that I
Definitely.
have is going to help someone else, versus this testimony I
Exactly.
have, it makes it seem like I'm better than you. That's not what it is about.
Right.
And it's important that we do it in our music. Like I was telling my brother-in-law the other day, sometimes we go through things so that we can help someone else, whether it's through our
Right.
talent of music, our poetry, or voice of speaking, or anything that we do, man.
Right. Right.
And like I said, you preach it out, man. You speak on it, and I like a lot of the things that you're doing now, which now I want to roll into the projects that you own, bro. Like, man, you got a movement. I want you to talk about the movements that you're on. Because even within TMR, which I appreciate you being a member in that and active in that,
Definitely.
especially you are voicing TMR, and I love everybody that has come in as friends of mine and helped me and Max keep this thing going, and kind of being a support system with us on that, because it's really important
Right.
when we have people that are vocal in the group from the stance of helping us build these people up, and kind of
Right.
encourage them to
Right.
keep going after what they're trying to pursue. But I will say, I've seen your flyers of things that you're posting as banners, not even in TMR alone, but just on yourself, and just your
Right.
merchandise, man. That Daniel Anthony brand. Talk about that brand. Talk about how you started it, how you came up with the concept, and who's involved in it with you.
Well, I mean, to be honest, part of it that gave me, I would say, the ability to feel like I can really move forward in that direction was the first other label that I was under in 2013
Uh-huh.
was owned by this guy named Xavier Musgrove. It was called Right Life Records, and when I found out that he actually did the graphics and stuff for his own label, I was like, okay, cool. Not that I've been, I never did it before, because I've actually kind of been in graphics since, shoot, maybe, man, past '98. I would say
You
just
ain't been
kind of
saying nothing
dabbling.
about you doing no graphics, bro.
Right, right, exactly. So I do everything myself, because I'm like, I didn't want to have to go out and especially try to find the money to pay somebody else to do it, especially
Right.
when I knew what I wanted things to look like, and I figured, well, since I've done it before, let me keep try to get better at it, do everything that I need to do to kind of make it what I want it to look like. So like all the concepts of the artwork that I had from my first gospel record, Brand New Life, in '06 to the last two I had, which is All God Know Me, and then the second movement, which is a remix album of All God Know Me. I just had those things, coming up in my head and my spirit anyway. So it was like, okay, well, this is the direction I want to go with it. And the reason why I did that, the way that I did, like both the All God Know Me projects, they kind of, you could see me, but you don't actually see the details of my face or anything like that, because to me it wasn't all about me. It was about not only my love for God, but it was also about this is the message that I want to put out there to the forefront. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I kind of get tired of seeing people have. I don't know if you do, because I know you've done some CD covers and everything. But to me, I always felt like the name of the album should match what the picture is, or vice versa. It should
Oh
match
yeah,
what the picture is,
definitely.
so it has something
Definitely.
to do with what it is, because it's like you kind of, sometimes I get kind of tired of seeing people's faces. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I
right,
get
right,
tired,
right.
tired of seeing that, because I feel like, okay, well, it's understandable with secular music to a degree, because it's like, well, the focus to a degree is on you. It's about the message as well, but you're the artist, this, that, and the other. Whereas for me, I'm like, okay, I don't mind putting my face on stuff if I have to, but it kind of gets to a point where it's like, okay, when is it a little too much for me? And I can't
Right.
speak for
Okay.
anyone else, but when is it too much for me? Like, I'm not sure if I could really continue going that route. Okay, if I'm gonna put my face on it, it'll be in the background, or it'll be kind of light or whatever. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, well, I myself have struggled with really kind of being an arrogant SOB for a little while. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right,
and
right.
stuck with for too long. So now it's just about the fact that I want the music to speak for itself. You know what I mean? And I haven't really strayed away from what I used to do with even Private Stock. It's still got that same type of hip hop feel to it, but it's mostly neo soul. You know what I mean? So that in itself is the brand for what I'm trying to do, because I want to make sure that people get the message first. I want people to feel the message. I want people to understand that, yeah, I can still praise God, and I'm still going to talk about God. I'm still going to do this, but I'm also going to talk about life situations. I'm also going to talk about my testimony. I'm going to talk about what you could do to get up out of your situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And how God will still love you no matter what. You know what I mean? As long as you basically release your life to Him. You know what I mean? You surrender to Him and let Him know that you're ready to go ahead and move forward. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's those kind of situations that I feel is part of the brand itself.
That's what's up, man. So now you mentioned Private Stock, and we kind of talked about it in the beginning. And as far as how I met you, because Max, that's Max's thing. Let me ask a question. What happened with the Private Stock thing? Just from your own perspective. I know, but I want the people to know.
Right. Well, from my own perspective, I mean, it just really had to do with the change in my life. You know what I mean? Honestly, if I hadn't made the decision at that point, I would have made it at some point. I think that for what we had, I mean, I was really, the whole thing to me, even though the stuff that I was doing, because my whole outlook at that time was I wanted to be the first Mexican dude doing R&B and cussing at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this was my goal. You know what I mean? So when I went up there and met them, I met Chris first, Chris Jenkins,
Okay.
and through another friend who was trying to work on his own project. And after that, I asked him, I'm like, okay, hey, do you mind if I come up here and record some stuff? He's like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, okay, well, how much do you charge? He was like, don't even worry about it. If you're part of the crew, you're part of the crew. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
what's
it's
up.
like if I could have done a lap, I would have done it.
Right.
And, so it was exciting for me. So after that is when I met Max, because he was like, I need you to record with these people, blah, blah, blah. So that's when I met Max and Fab. And then after that, I met Ev, and just working with them and then preparing me for what we were trying to put out for not only as a whole as Private Stock, but also just for my project in itself. It was it was cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
I enjoyed every part of it. So I can't really say that it ended in a way where there was definitely no bad blood at
Oh
all
yeah,
ever.
right.
But so it just only, I would say, had to do with just the life change. You know what I mean? I really needed I really needed to be able to feel like, you know what, I got to step away from this because this isn't me anymore. I can't be talking about how, sexing down this female and that female, and this, that, and the other, and trying to keep a marriage together at the same time because it was dumb. You know
So
what I
then,
mean?
are you trying to tell me that my homies were a bad influence on your life?
No, I was my own bad influence.
Okay, I'm trying to clear that up.
Sure.
You know.
Because
No, I'm
I'll admit,
teasing.
no time did I ever feel like they
I'm
were
teasing.
telling me that I needed to be a certain way.
Right,
I
right,
kind of
right.
carried that with me before I even met them. Matter of fact, when I was with my old group, that it was just something that I ended up kind of learning to a degree where I was like, I was never really the type of person to feel like, oh, I can have this girl and have that girl, blah blah blah. But once I
Right.
started getting it with the whole group, and I was seeing how quote unquote easy it was, that's when I started dipping my foot in the pool, and I was like, okay, well, let me just try this. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was wrong for me to do that because I was married at the time, and I just didn't care. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Because the
yeah, I
lifestyle
get
that
it.
I was living was coming out through my music, which I felt made my music as I mean, I'll say that I thought it was dope because I liked how the style was coming together. I liked what I was putting out there. You know what I mean? But looking back on it, I'm like, ooh, man, I still got
Right.
what I was
Right.
doing.
That's that maturity though. That's that maturity.
Woo,
When you look back, you be like, whoa.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, oh
I,
yeah, definitely.
I
And
get it.
and hindsight is always 2020. You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean?
right. I get it.
Shame that I ended up having to go through a lot of things, including a divorce, in order for me to be able to see, okay, well, you know what, this is where you went wrong. And I've never been the type of person to be like, oh yeah, it was all my ex-wife's fault. That's it.
Right,
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? But it came about to a point where when I realized that everything started circling around one type of demeanor, one type of character, one type of attitude, it was too much. And I think that's probably what helped me get to the point of where I could finally get up and stand up and lift my hands and tell God I was sorry for the life I was leading. You know what I mean? And not to say that I ended up being perfect afterwards. You know what I'm saying? But because nobody's perfect, but it was one of those things where I realized I needed to change. I needed to do something different. You know
So
what I'm
then,
saying?
so then we can call this your second breath for a second win to accomplish that second win, WIN,
Right.
which is dope. And I just made that up right now.
Yeah.
That's what Kurt's do, you know.
Right.
But
Great mistake.
but yeah. So you got the church, you got your wife, you got your family, which is beautiful. I might add. I mean, them photos be looking like Sears portraits, man. But I know y'all doing
Oh
them.
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But the whole and this is what I'm saying about the brand, the image, like everything that you're quote unquote selling, because really and truly, it's not even about that you're selling it. You just here's a look into my life. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And I sing my life, I sing my story, and I share and I give my life, right? So with all of that, and not saying that I'm giving out what you're doing, because this is just when I see everything that you share through Facebook or social media, this is what I track from it. Like I'm like, this guy is sharing his life. But like I said, you have your family, you have the church. How are you using those to your advantage, and not in a bad way? But let's say, is the church being supportive? I know your family's supportive. And I know you've showed a few little snippets of videos where through your movement you're doing little things as far as getting out there with your church and doing different things. But are you doing things in the community? Is the church helping you push out your brand? Like what's the whole thing that's going on as far as how are you using the church and your family to help get this thing out?
Right. Well, out here, we still haven't found a church home yet.
Right,
We
because
just moved out
you
to
just moved
Florida
from
from California.
well,
Yeah.
right, from California. Now you're in Florida. So yeah, let's get that out
Right.
there.
Right. So we haven't found a church home yet. It's only been about a little over a month that we've been here. Actually, almost 2 months now. That I think about it. But the church that I had that I was at down in California, Living Praise Christian Center, they were always supportive. I mean, from not only having me sing sometimes during Sunday service, but my pastor would asked me to come out to some of the men's things and sing there or whatever, or
Uh-huh.
if I was anywhere around the Antelope Valley, which is where I was living at the time. There were some people that would come out and they would support. They would push it, they would post it up, they would share it or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely think that there was a great support there. Obviously, with my family, same thing. But as far as like, I can't really say that I purposely tried to use it to that advantage, but I'm glad that it was there. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Because it definitely wasn't a plan. It was more or less a thing where, you know what, I know that they would support because they know me or whatever, or because they've seen or they've heard or whatever, you know. So it was more of a safe assumption, I guess you could say, that the support would be there, and I'm glad that it was because they showed me love, and obviously I showed them love, and they've always been supportive while I was there, you know. But I'm hopeful for whatever church I'm gonna be at out here.
So I gotta interject then. I gotta ask you a question. Why, if you have so much love and support here, why would you uproot and go to Florida?
Well, that was
That's
actually
if you don't
more of
mind
a
getting
thing,
personal.
right?
Huh?
Right. No, no, it's all good.
Okay.
That was definitely a personal thing. What happened was that my wife moved out to California from Florida in 2000, and we met at the end of 2001.
Okay.
And her plan was because she used to be a dancer. She used to dance with Quad City DJs and a few other
Okay.
people and with TV shows and stuff. And her plan was to be out in California for maybe a couple of years and then head back.
Got you.
I kind of stopped her from doing that. So, not purposely.
I get it.
She just stayed out there. We started being together, started, going to life together, and then we got married. And throughout the years, I kept telling her that, we would eventually move back out here. And I promised her that maybe over 10 years ago. And that at least when my oldest son, Tyler, which, you've heard of as well,
Right.
once he reached, either a certain age, either 18 or graduated from high school, that we would at least start talking about it. So he's 20 now, and, we decided to go ahead and start making a plan of it. So now we're out here with her family. So, we could be out here with them now.
Got
So
you.
it's more along the lines of a personal decision, but it's cool out here. I love it.
Okay, and you guys are not out there alone, so she does have family, so it makes sense
Oh,
in
right.
itself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, because sometimes we do make moves in a leap of faith, which is also cool. But I just didn't, like I said, I just wanted to kind of because you and I never talked about it. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm moving to Florida, and I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it was just I just wanted to kind of find out that. So
Yeah.
what is your plan now? Like, what's your current single?
Well, the current thing that actually I'm planning on doing a video for is called "It's All Good." It's a remix of one of my favorite songs from the previous release. Matter of fact, Christopher Rawls, from Rawls, I'm hoping I'm saying it
Yeah,
right.
you said it right.
Yeah, he kind of I won't say literally pushed me, but because of the fact that he felt good about the song itself. Because I asked, I think this is one of the ones that I put out there asking for people's opinion
Right.
on the mixing skills, because I haven't really mixed a lot, but I've been learning things from here and there. And he was talking about how much he loved it and everything, and I'm like, this would be a cool single. So I'm about to put that one out. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics in regards to doing the video for it. But that's going to be out, even though it's already a part of the whole album that's already out on iTunes and all that, which is called AG&M, the Second Movement. And,
Okay.
that's one of them. The previous one was More Than, with my son Tyler,
Right.
aka Huey Soul, and that was one of my favorite ones because just hearing him graduate from where he used to be. I actually used to write the rhymes for him when he was younger, and then at one point we got to a level where he was like, can I write my own? I'm like, yeah, sure. And after that, I was like, I'm never writing nothing for you no more. I'm like, you're good. So that was one of the songs called More Than that I had, which is my previous single. So
now, are any of these on iTunes right now?
Oh yeah, the whole thing is on iTunes right now. Again, it's called All God Know Me, the
Right.
Second Movement, and the previous one is just called All God Know Me. So both of those projects are on iTunes and Google Play and all that, and Spotify. And I love being able to create those those projects in itself, because they really spoke a lot of things that were not only from my life but also my perspective on others' lives. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I appreciate, man? As I'm doing these interviews, I'm loving the appreciation that you guys are having for TMR. And it's funny because Max and I have our weekly meetings where we talk about things that we want to do for the group, or what's going on in the group. And he told me even the other day, he was like, man, remember TMR was just an idea and you were trying to figure out what you want to do, and you were throwing out ideas, and then TMR came up, and because I wasn't going to do TMR, Max pushed me to do it because I had the idea of it, and he was like, man, you just need to do something because these are the things that you've always wanted to do. But I'm looking at it now and I'm like, dang, look at how much of an impact this group has had on individuals, because it was never, the only thing that TMR was built to do for me was to get me out of the funk that I was in, to get me back into contact with people, right? But it was never for me to create this platform where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build this group so I can get beats, or so I can get people to rap over my beats, or so I can try to get into business. Because you know me, I've been there, done that. But I wanted to get in touch with people, and I wanted to do it in a way where I can kind of mentor and kind of encourage and kind of do for TMR, what Max and I have done for our crew, which is what's happening in TMR. But as you guys say, like, you're connecting with people outside of just me and Max, and being encouraged by people outside of just me and Max, or building those relationships through the collaborations. This is why, like, even when I go on my little rants, or Max goes on his rants, we get upset because of the fact that a lot of people don't utilize the group for what it's worth. You get what I'm saying? Or what it can do into your life. And I'm like, dang, like, if people took the time to really understand what this group can provide outside of the fact of just posting something on the wall, check out my hot fire, like, subscribe, and all that. I get it. I understand it. But just on the fact that you said you put out a single based on Chris Raw, who you met through TMR. It didn't have nothing to do with Max, me, Fab, or EV, or no, like, you meeting a whole new crew of people that lives in a city that you ain't even from. You get what I'm saying? And so when I think about what this group has contributed in all our lives, man, it's really great. And I love hearing it because of the fact that it lets me know every day that we got something good. And I'm going to say we, because of the fact that I don't feel that it's my group, because without all of you guys, the group wouldn't be as successful as it is, right? And I really love hearing you guys give the group the props that you guys give it, because I think that everyone within the group serves a purpose. And we all have our different skill sets and things to talk about, even from a gospel perspective. Because remember, with the gospel music, people were kind of on the fence about, should we talk gospel? I'm like, man, bring everything. It's no boundary. Just because you got people in here talking about shake that, twerk that. First of all, I don't even like shake that, twerk that. You get what I'm saying? And even though, because everybody's like, oh, Curse is a Crip, or such and such is a blood, this, that, and the other. Hold on, everybody need God. Trust me. Because at the end of the day, we all cry. We all bleed the same. You understand? And we all need to be in touch with something. You follow me? And so I'm just like, this whole element and how we all combine this gumbo together to become this awesome group, man. People need to understand, and I love that you guys all have positive words for our group. And I'm saying our, meaning you included, right? And that TMR brand, man, is really going to be the umbrella for everything that everybody's doing, because of the fact that it's like our meeting place. It's like that living room or that table at grandma's house where we're dining at the table, just coming together. And man, that's dope, bro. And I really appreciate you saying it, man. But so you in Florida right now. Go ahead.
I will say, in regards to that, you know, one of the things that I love about it is, like you said, you know, I wouldn't have met certain people, you know what I mean, wouldn't have even heard their music, like Donnie, or well, I think I probably would have still heard her.
Yeah, she's dope.
Man, she's dope. But just one, you know, I've linked up with him. I actually spoke with him a couple of times on the phone because we were trying to put something together for a song submission, and then Henry Walker. You know what I mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like just being able to meet some of these people, you know, even though it's not face to face, being able to meet them and you know hear what they're doing, you know what I mean, and hoping that there's a possibility I could work with them, you know what I mean, and knowing that all it would take is just a question, can I
Right.
work with you? You know what I mean, knowing that they'd be on the same level of appreciation that I am, you know what I mean, it's just
Right.
it's a wonderful thing knowing that, you know, shoot, technology has gotten so awesome for things like this, you know what I mean, that it just it makes you want to just continue to do more and more, you know what I mean, and I feel like with some of these people, I may have the ability to have more than just, you know, one type of sound, you know what I mean, or one
Right.
type of thing that can showcase what I've got as well as what they've got. You know what I mean? I definitely want to do something with Just One. Definitely want to do something with Henry, and definitely want to do a song with Donnie. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
all these people that are on there. I'm like, yeah, I shoot. These people would be dope to work with. You know what I mean? And it's not. I mean, it's just an awesome thing, and I appreciate what you guys have done so far. You know what I mean? I can't wait to see how much more it grows, and I want to see more and more people that are on there be a little bit more vocal. You know what I'm saying? So anyone out there that's listening to this right now, if you're a part of TMR, come on and be vocal. You know what I mean? Even say happy birthday when people are when it's their
Right, right,
anniversary.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't, and you know what, and we can't even really call, the reason for it. But like I said, even if
Right,
we only got a handful of people that are taking advantage, so be it, man. As
right.
long as it's serving the purpose that it's supposed to serve, because everything has a reason and a plan. So
Definitely.
I'm okay with that. But
Right.
another thing I want to ask, so you're in Florida now, and I know it was to get your wife back, because you guys it sounds like you guys compromised. Like she put her time in with you out here in California. Now you're gonna put your time out there with
Right,
her in
right, yeah.
Florida. Let me ask a question though. Is there a fear that things will slow down for you now that you've transitioned from your safety net into a place where you have to kind of build up again? Like she may not have a hard time, but you may have a harder time.
I'll be honest. I didn't think about that till right now. So I
Oh,
say,
my bad, but I'm real.
no, but okay. No, but for real, I haven't really thought about that only because I feel like it's a new beginning. You know, we
Okay.
actually said this before we moved. You
That's
know,
what's
that
up.
there's a lot of things that I wanna take care of. A lot
That's
of
what's
things that I
up.
want to start doing, and you know, we still got to transfer our business from California to Florida anyway. So you know, because we have our own label, which is called Solidify Records,
Right.
and but we want to be able to do more while we're out here. The things that we planned on doing while we were out there before we made the decision to move, we're like, well, you know what? If we could still do the same thing. You know, it's more like I guess you could say we got the kind of business where you can pretty much do it anywhere. You know,
Right.
and
Right.
so I won't necessarily say that there's any fear that my only fear would have been, I guess you could say, if I had anything, is if I lacked the ability to do something, or if I lacked the encouragement, you know what I mean, or if
Right.
I lacked the wisdom to be. I mean, there's things that I still have to learn about, you know, doing business out here in Florida, but all in all, it's kind of the same because of what I'm doing. You know what I mean, in regards to the music and everything else that I do under that. So I'm like, well, all it just takes is for me to be able to just not be lazy, make sure I'm not lazy about things, and get up and do the things that I need to do. Make sure that my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted, you know, and move forward. Because if I got here and it was like, well, okay, well, we're out here, it's nice and you know cozy out here, whatever, you know, it's kind of retirement community, so I'm gonna go ahead and just retire. There's no reason for me to retire because I got a lot of things to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if I was stagnant, then yeah, then I think it would be that fear. But you
Man,
know,
it's it's
I don't
it's
want to be stagnant at all. You
it,
know?
it's crazy that you saying this, because it's encouraging to me right now, because I think that failure is probably one of the biggest fears that I have, because I'm a perfectionist, right? And
Right, right,
just hearing you, like you said, you willing to transfer from a place of safety to a place of maybe I got to rebuild. But like you say, if you got a plan, it's no reason why it should not work out as long as you put the time in it. And I'm hearing you say this, and I'm thinking about myself like, damn, I got plans. Like I'm doing this TMR thing and doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, why even be afraid? Especially if you claim that you got faith, right? And I think that those are big things that we kind of fall in a hole on, where we'll say we believe in God or we're praying to God and we want God to lead the way, but we don't step back and allow him to work. We still cry out, "Oh Lord, you left me," but we don't give him the time to act in our favor, right? And I think that that's what you standing strong on, like so strong that you said, you know what, I'm gonna snatch this root out of this foundation that I have here, and I'm gonna grow another tree elsewhere.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? And that's big, bro.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of people.
That's the right analogy for it.
Oh, again, Curse. Hey, Curse does that. I'm just saying, going around.
Right. I mean, that's the perfect analogy, because a lot of times when people think, it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just, cut these ties right here, cut myself as the branch off of this tree, and I'm gonna go ahead and go over here, not realizing that you can take those roots up out of there, and plant it somewhere else.
Right.
I mean, as long as you understand that you can do that and still grow from there, you're all right. One of the things my mom always likes to say is, no matter where you go, there you are, meaning that you're still the same person.
Right.
But at the same time, you can still change yourself. You can still reinvent yourself. You know what I mean? Even though I'm the same person, even though I'm still the same, God-fearing, person who loves to do this and loves to do that, doesn't mean that I can't change some of the ways that I do those things in order to make sure that I can turn those things into a success. God wants us to be successful anyways, but he wants to make sure that, we're in line with what he wants for us.
Exactly.
We have to be open to that as well. A lot of times, I was telling my wife yesterday, a lot of times people don't ask for God to have his will because we're afraid of what his will is, because it might be different than what we want. Even though God will give us the desires of our heart, still, if we're asking in the wrong manner, if we're asking in the wrong fashion, he's not gonna move on that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we just have to be willing to be open and say, you know what, yeah, honestly, God, I love you so much, and trust you that I know that you will carry me no matter where I'm at. I know that you'll be able to take me from here to there. I know that just as much as you covered me in California, you're gonna cover me in Florida and then some. So there's no reason for me to pray and worry about it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, it's funny you say, like, how when you hear people saying certain things and you be like, dang, I know that. You follow what I'm saying? Like, I know exactly that. And it's like to hear somebody give you the confirmation of what you already know. It's like, so why you tripping then? You get what I'm saying? Like, and like I say, it's just for me, man, like, what my situation is dealing with this MS craziness, and not even that dealing with it to the point where I've given up. It's just the fact of having to step back and regroup. And so,
Right.
like, yeah. And so, like I say, it's just, which was, man, you know what's funny though? Even as we sitting here thinking, like, I always think back on how like wild and carefree and careless I was back then. It's like this whole MS transition has been, and I always tell, and I'll say it again, like Paul's thorn in the side, like, God wouldn't remove it, but you got to understand, like, sometimes you get certain things that happen to you to kind of remind you of, like, I can't get angry anymore without feeling like, oh, I better calm down because it's going to impact my health. Like, I can't handle that old side of me the same way as I used to. Not saying I can't protect myself, but I just got to think differently on how I act out. Right. And so, I'm like, God has a way of getting our attention when we feel like we're invincible or when we feel like we got it all under control. There's something to remind you that you still need him, like I said before, or maybe you need to be more strategic in your planning. And like you said, align yourself in accordance to his will, because you may want it, but he may not want it for you, not because he don't want you to be blessed, but because what you think is a blessing may be a scar, may be death, may be pain. We don't know because we can't see that far ahead. And this is why I say we try to become God. We try to become our own God, create our own destiny. And so it's really good hearing you talk, man. I really like it because, bro, like I said, I think too, talking in our 20s and talking in our 40s, the conversation's different. I
Oh
can tell
yeah,
you
for sure.
that. I can tell you that for real. You know what I'm saying? And so,
If I was in my, if this was me in my 20s, you'd have to push the bleep button all the
right, right,
time.
right, right, right. But it's really cool just to see the growth in us both. And it's really
Yeah,
cool to see your movement. Even your son, he's a part of TMR now, but just to see,
yeah,
because even with my youngest son that's taking on music and doing music, and him and my stepson as well, they both do music. But when you can look back and see your son, your kids, period, pick up
right.
on positive things that you do. Because like my daughter sings and writes music, and
Oh, that's dope.
yeah, man. So I love the positive things that my kids picked up on. And I don't mind sharing who I used to be with them, because they know how to let's say separate what they should and should not do for me. So I don't have the issue with them, trying to be the crazy guy I was.
Right.
But when you can look at your kids and say, like, I'm leaving a legacy, and they're picking up on the talents and trying to become something. And I see that in your
Mm-hmm.
kids, like even when you showed the video of your son singing with you, that's dope, man. And continue to do what you
Yeah.
do, because we don't know what our kids watch. As
Right.
far as when they're not with us, we only have control over what we present to them. You get what I'm saying? And so,
Right.
um, continue to be that light for me, for TMR, for your family, more importantly, and then and especially for the light that God wants you to be amongst others, man. And I'm glad that you shared your story today, especially about just the transition from the old, let's say, Anthony Noble to
Right.
Daniel Anthony, and then just that transition from California to Florida. And
Yeah.
because that's big, man. I mean, just, man, matter of fact, look at all these transitions that you've gone through, but you're still strong. You're
Right.
still encouraged. And you
Mm-hmm.
still have the faith. And I'm sure that there were up and downs in between. Like you said, you mentioned that you went through the divorce and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But we always go through things and still come out standing. And I think that that's what it's about, for the sake of testimony. Um,
Right.
and then so that's a big thing. But man, let me ask you something before we hang up. What's some last words from you, bro?
Man, honestly, I want people to stay encouraged. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that I love about TMR is that we're that I'm sure I can't say who they are, but only because I don't know who they are. But I'm sure there's quite a few people on TMR that may have tried to decide to give it up. You know what I mean? But may
Mm-hmm.
not have because of the fact that we got a support system in TMR. You know what I mean? I got to say with a lot of groups that I'm attached to, that this is one of them that I'm like really active on, and mainly because I like hearing what people are coming up with whether it be the videos that you guys do to the challenges and everything. It's not just the idea of what TMR is, but it's the ideas that come along with it,
Right.
and of the fact that we can encourage each other and possibly bring somebody out of the rut of whether they feel like they've been stagnant on writing or producing or whatever, or like I said, if they felt like they wanted to give it up, if there's anyone that's on there right now that when you post this is listening to it, I want to say stay encouraged. That God gave us these talents for a reason,
Hmm.
and he doesn't want us to just go and hide them just so nothing doesn't happen to him. You know what
Straight
I mean?
up.
I'm gonna keep it intact while I hide it, while I bury it. No, he wants us to take that talent and grow it. He wants us to make sure that we do the right things with it. You know what I mean? And for some, it may be just to get riches, and for some, it may be to get notoriety and famous and be famous and everything. But notice that it's bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Notice that he gave that to us for a bigger reason than just ourselves, and that's why I can't. I was gonna hang it up if I didn't make it by 30. I'm 42 now, so
Right, right, right. Straight
I'm still
up.
not gonna hang. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep going until I can't do it no more. You know what I mean? Until God says stop. So, and if I can do that, then I'm sure anyone else can. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's just it means a lot to make sure that you stay encouraged. It means a lot to make sure that you do the things with what you've got. You know what I mean? Work them. Make sure that they touch somebody else. That's what this music is for. Is to be able to touch somebody else. You know what I mean? Not just to entertain, you know, but it's just to make, it's also to make sure that you can reach somebody, and knowing that they've been changed, or you sparked something in them, to whether to be a singer, producer, or writer, whatever, you know what I mean? And then you're passing that on to the other generations, and hoping that they don't mess it up like a lot of other people have. You know what
Right,
I'm
no
saying?
doubt, no doubt. Man, much love and respect for you, bro, man. I can't say it enough, man. But just thank you for your time today. Thank you for being a part of TMR, and man, just keep doing that music and keep being a light in that family, man. And talk to you soon, bro. Have a good one.
Definitely. You too, bro.
All right, bro.